जय गोपीजनवल्लभ जय गोपीजनवल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन जमुनातीरवनचारि जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna devotees, Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much, Shalini Mataji, for so nicely singing the Jai Radha Madhav. Okay, so devotees, can one of you
Yeah. Can I read, Prabhuji? Yeah.
say, yes, Mataji, please.
Yeah. ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाजलशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुर्वे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापद कमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं अग्रजातं सहागण रघुनाथन्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादं सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कण्ठ राधा कण्ठ नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधा वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानो सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण प्रभुजी and Mataji stand up now.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much, Harini Mataji. All right, so devotees, um, so over the past few weeks, we have discussed on the chapter 8, um, which is attaining the supreme. And before we dwell into the chapter 9, maybe for the next 10-15 minutes, I just wanted to I just wanted us to kind of recap what we have really discussed in chapter 8, and also what Krishna is going to talk about in the chapter 9. So I think the last verse from yesterday was the verse 28. I think we have clearly seen. I think Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that you know the middle six chapters of Bhagavad Gita are like a jewel, and the first six and the last six chapters are like a covering. They're just covering that jewel, like a pearl. You have the pearl in the middle, and then the shell is more like the first six chapters and the last six chapters. And so it's it's really emphasized that the middle six chapters actually talk about the core content of what Krishna is trying to deliver to Arjuna. And that doesn't mean that the first six and the last six chapters do not hold any significance. They are equally important, but Krishna is trying to give something very, very invaluable, and he's trying to preserve it in the middle, and he's trying to distribute that to Arjuna. So we have seen that Prabhupada has explained in his purport about the significance of chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Um so we'll kind of understand these six chapters in its entirety, just to kind of get a sense of what Krishna is trying to explain here. I mean, before I dwell into it, like, can any of our devotees kind of really share their thoughts on what we have been talking about over the past maybe a few weeks, especially with respect to chapter 8?
Yeah, I can say a few things.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Please.
Yeah, chapter 8 basically started out with 8 questions. And I can't remember all the questions here offhand, but 7 of them were answered in the first 2 or 3 verses. And then the eighth question was Prayanakale. So what happens at the time of death? Uh, so then Krishna started discussing various ways. Uh, uh, well, he to mention how important it is uh, to remember Krishna at the time of one's demise.
Mhm.
Uh, and whatever your thoughts are at that point, if you are more of a materialistic type person, then whatever your thoughts are at that point, then that's what you might end up because of karma in the next life and so on. But on the other hand, the devotees, those specifically in Krishna consciousness, are constantly thinking of the Lord, and so automatically, even if they're not in a position at the time of uh, leaving the body to remember Krishna, Krishna will take care of them. Now, it was also discussed about uh, the other yoga systems, how they go about trying to remember the Lord at the time of departure, and specifically the Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and so on. There are chakras, 6 and then 7 on top of the head. So these people are trying to, those who are really perfected in these yoga systems, uh, they can control how the life air moves from the base of the spine to the top, to the forehead, and then they focus on that at the time of departure, and eventually try to exit that from top of the head. But in doing this, it's not simple because you got to control all your senses, and which means all the senses of the tongue, the ears, the nose, the eyes, everything. So imagine trying to control those senses in today's Kali Yuga. It is very difficult, almost impossible. So, on the other hand, the people of those in Krishna consciousness, they are they dovetail all these senses to the service of Krishna and the devotees. So, as a result, There, for them, uh, the when they leave the body, they don't have to particularly focus on, you know, withdrawing their senses at all. And the other thing that was mentioned near the end was what is the auspicious time at which to leave the body. And there, Krishna discusses about uh, how some yogis leave during the daytime and the others leave at night, and how those who can control and leave during the daytime when the sun, during the Uttarayan, northern hemisphere, sun is northern hemisphere, and uh, they, uh, for them, it is auspicious and they'll attain Brahma Jyoti, but those who are in the darkness will go to the moon planet. And but on the other hand, for a Krishna conscious person, there's really no auspicious time. All times are auspicious because he is really praying to the Lord. He is remembering the Lord all the time. Thank you, Prabhu. That's some of the things I remember.
That's wonderful, Prabhuji. You kind of touched the key aspects of what we have learned in chapter 8. That was very nicely explained, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Any other devotees would like to add to what Raghu Prabhu has explained?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji almost covered most of the points in this beautiful chapter. I just would like to add that here also Lord Krishna uh, tells Arjuna that among the Jnana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga is the highest service, devotional service to Lord. And so impersonalist or who are the Brahmavadis, they will not understand Krishna because they are more inclined towards the knowledge and with their kind of own conception, um, and but so that's why devotional service who does the bhakti yoga is the best, and it's a very easy process to go back to godhead. um, that's what I remember, Prabhuji, that.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thanks for adding that. Any other devotees like to share any of their thoughts or things that they remember from chapter 8?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, as Raghu Prabhu was wonderfully mentioning, Prabhuji, the questions, Arjuna asked what is Brahma, Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhuta, Adidaiva, and all that, Prabhuji. And Krishna wonderfully explained, everything in very detailed, how, Krishna answers in the whole chapter, and also different ways of remembering Lord Krishna at the time of death, as Prabhuji was mentioning. And I think we also discussed about, I think you discussed about like little bit of Sat Chakra Yoga also in the last week, right, Prabhuji? And the final verse, how a devotee, a bhakti yogi, attains Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he never returns back, because in this Kali Yuga, that is the easiest way for us to reach the Supreme Lord. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Subal Prabhuji. Yes, devotees. So, I think that as Prabhuji's and Mataji have covered, I think they touched upon all the key points. One of the things that Krishna also was explaining is about the material creation and also the spiritual creation. And he talked about the nature of these two different creations and how different yogis, as Prabhu explained, aim for different um, planets or destinations. I would think, like, both materially as well as spiritually. There are different people who aspire for different destinations within this material platform, and as well as on this spiritual platform. So, in essence, Krishna was trying to give a lot more technical, he started giving a lot more technical information, because Arjuna indeed asked him the questions about, like the first few questions about the Brahman, what are the fruitive activities, what is this whole material manifestation, and he also touched upon the demigods as well. So that's the essence of the chapter 8, which I would think like Krishna actually started giving the confidential knowledge to Arjuna beginning chapter 7. And then in chapter 8, it's he started giving a little more finer details about it. And then in the chapter 9, he tries to give the most confidential knowledge. So that's why you see the title as the most confidential knowledge. So in other words, Krishna, unless it's something very, very, very important, Krishna would not use the word, or stress the word, this is the most confidential, right? So we are about to dwell into a very important and a very critical chapter in the context of this conversation between Arjun and Krishna. So devotees, before we get into chapter 9, let's kind of get a sense of what Krishna would be talking about in chapter 9. So if no other, like if devotees do not have any other things, if you all permit me, I just want to share something, like I think understanding this as an acronym, right? Like, I mean, I think this will kind of give us a gist of what we are about to read in chapter 9. So I would like to request one of our devotees to kind of really read through these acronyms. Let's understand this chapter in terms of an acronym. So that way it covers the gist of what we are going to learn in the next future weeks. So can one of the devotee volunteer to read this? So as this is like Raja Vidya, or the most confidential knowledge. So the acronym for this chapter 9 is King. So can one of our devotees volunteer to read this, please?
You can read Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
09 King. The most confidential knowledge. Just as pearls are hidden within a shell, or as a king is surrounded by an entourage, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is nestled in the middle of the conversation, the ninth chapter. Here Krishna outlines the king of all knowledge and the most secret of all secrets. He explains the very essence of the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of spirituality, and the very essence of our entire being. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. So, devotees, let's quickly skim through these the acronym King, and I think this is like a good way for us to kind of really remember also like what Krishna is covering in different verses within this chapter. So, can we have a few volunteers?
I can read Prabhuji.
Yes,
All
Prabhuji.
devotees don't pranam all Krishna Srila Prabhupada. Knowledge 1 to 3 Sloka. Krishna explains that the wisdom of this chapter is most confidential since it illuminates the true position and function of the soul in relation to God. There is a notion that belief in God is intellectually immature or philosophically naive. Logical and rational analysis of the complexity, design, and intricate engineering of this creation, however, makes plain that there must be some conscious intelligence behind it. To categorically deny this suggests a stubborn, irrational, and illogical predisposition. Krishna thus explains that this knowledge is state specific. One must be non envious and faithful to understand it. Faith is not opposed to knowledge, but is actually a prerequisite for receiving it. Hare Krishna. Guruji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So thank you, Prabhuji. So devotees, in this, the acronym King, the first three verses, essentially, Krishna is kind of explaining about, why it is important for those who are seeking this knowledge to be submissive and more importantly to have the faith. And in this context is also referring that one must not be envious and they should be faithful. So only when you're non-envious to the person from whom you're listening or taking this knowledge from, then the true knowledge can be understood in its true spirit. So the first few verses, Krishna is talking more about the importance of that, as well as the knowledge itself. So let's go to the next acronym, which is going to cover the essence of verse 4 to 10.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, may I read?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Okay. Inconceivable relationships, 4 to 10. An idea is conceived within the mind, a child is conceived within the womb. In other words, a concept is contained within something. Since the qualities and characteristics of the Lord, however, are unlimited, they cannot be contained within any boundaries, and thus God's activities and relationships are deemed inconceivable. In this section, Krishna begins to
Import.
impart knowledge of his inconceivable relationships with the universe and all living entities. This knowledge gives an indication of the unfathomable character, greatness, and capacity of God, and thus exposes our inability to comprehend with such matters through mundane logic and reason.
Thank you, Mataji. So again, in this segment of the chapter, I think um, Krishna is talking something more deeper, which is not easily, not something that we can easily understand with our mundane, thought or understanding of the subjects around us. So he's kind of trying to reveal that part, and I think he's also mentioning that the knowledge that he's trying to explain here, it cannot be understood by anyone and everyone, and it requires those special ears to kind of really understand what Krishna is trying to explain. And as we discussed in yesterday's verse as well, that one of the key things that Krishna was insisting, or Prabhupada is insisting, that the only way somebody can understand the Gita in its true spirit is through the association of devotees and through hearing it from the bona fide, gurus or the spiritual masters, or through the association of devotees, like what we are doing uh, pretty much every day, every weekday. So let's go to the next acronym, knowledge, inconceivable relationships, and let's talk about the word N.
Yeah, I can try, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Mhm.
And non-worship, 11 to 25. Even after Krishna explains the glories and qualities of his personal form, there are many who misunderstand the Supreme. Because Krishna appears in a human-like form, some deem him an ordinary human being and believe a personal form of God to be an elementary and infantile concept. Others believe that God manifests innumerable forms represented by the various demigods, each of whom are worthy of worship. Others cannot perceive of anything beyond this universe and therefore consider the cosmos to be the supreme object of worship. All such persons sidestep the worship of the Supreme Personality, whom one can see face to face and have a relationship with. While some claim that all paths lead to the same destination, Krishna highlights that he awards different results to a person's worship based on their motivation and understanding of that worship. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So devotees, again, in this acronym, it's talking, I think verse 11 to 25 is going to talk about this particular aspect, where Krishna is mentioning that just because he appears in the form of a human, there are people who kind of do not really take him as a supreme lord, and instead they think that, Krishna, they try to equate the Lord with that of, the demigods. So, and again, Krishna is also specifying here in these particular set of verses that, you know those Krishna is saying that he will bestow the destination based on someone's, the seeker's motivation. So if you're trying to seek to, I think, a different a material motivation, let's say if your desire is materially motivated, he will accordingly acknowledge that, and he will give you the right destination that you aspire for. So I think what's really important here is, I think the key word here is the motivation. When somebody is worshiping the Lord, I think that's also being discussed in these verses. Let's look into the last word of, which is the glories of bhakti.
I can read, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Glories, glories of Bhakti 26 to 34. In this way, Krishna establishes the personal form of God to be the highest and most complete manifestation of the Supreme. The greater something is, the higher the qualification to achieve it. To get into a good university, you need higher grades. To buy a bigger house, you need greater funds. Similarly, to approach God in the most intimate and personal way, one requires the greatest qualification, complete purity of consciousness without any tinge of selfish motivation. Krishna explains that such purity is characterized by complete immersion of mind, body, and words in selfless devotional service, hour after hour, day after day, year after year. This is Krishna consciousness, and this is the perfectional climax of the Bhagavad Gita. Back to you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. So devotees, this is very self-explanatory here. That what Krishna is trying to talk about is that the topmost aspiration of all the practicing devotees, which is that selfless devotion towards the Supreme Lord, that highest stage of our consciousness, the Krishna consciousness. So, in a sense, devotees, I think this understanding this acronym, Krishna covers different aspects, but I think in an essence, he's talking about his personal form. He's also talking about the fact that not every this knowledge is not meant for everyone, and this needs to be understood. In order for this to be understood in its true spirit, we need to be studying this in the association of devotees. So let's get into the first verse, and let's start kind of really uh, going through the verses now. So can we have one of our devotee read through the first verse of chapter 9? And we'll have three devotees recite the sloka.
Yeah, I can read. Hare Krishna, devotees, stand up now. All Krishna should perform. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam Pravakshami Anusuyave Gnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajnatva Mokshase Subhat. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Any other devotees who didn't get a chance to speak?
I can.
Yes.
Om Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhaya tamam pravaksyami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yagnatva mokshaye subhat. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Any other devotees? I will take one more.
I
I
can
can
try.
try. Go ahead,
Oh,
Prabhuji.
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Prabhuji, go ahead. No problem.
Okay. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyattamam Pravakshyami Anusiva Yave Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yatva Mokshyase Swabhat.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Can we have one of our devotees read both the synonym as well as the translation, please?
I can read Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Everybody know about all goes Srila Prabhupada. Sri Bhagavan Uvacho, the Supreme Personal Godhead said, Idam, this, too, but, T, unto you, Guham, Tamam, the most confidential, Prabhakshami, I am speaking, Anushuabe, to the non-envious, Jana Ganam, knowledge, Bigganam, realized knowledge, Shohitam, with yat which Gatma, knowing, mokshashe, you will be released, Ashubhat, from this miserable material existence. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Supreme Personal Godhead said, My dear Arjun, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Hare Krishna. Guruji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, devotees, it's so straightforward. Krishna is saying the first thing is he's saying, because you're never envious of me. So Krishna is making sure that the recipient of this most confidential knowledge is somebody who is really qualified. So in this case, Krishna is emphasizing that when someone is envious on others, they would not really be able to absorb the knowledge in its true spirit, and they would not really understand and take that subject matter in its true spirit. So it's one of the most important qualities that Krishna is aspiring from all the devotees who to kind of be able to understand this knowledge, is that we should have that submissiveness towards the Lord. So that's the first thing. And then he's also saying that in this chapter, in the next few verses, he's going to talk about this most confidential knowledge as well as the realization of the knowledge. So he's talking about both gnana as well as vijnana, the practical knowledge, of the practical application of that knowledge, the realized knowledge. So devotees, let's go through the purport. I think the purport, yeah, let's go through the purport. Maybe we can have the first three paragraphs read by one devotee, and the next three paragraphs can be read by another devotee.
I can read Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
As the devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the signs of Krishna in the association of devotees. Discussions of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes it in this ninth chapter, matters most confidential than any he has already disclosed. The very beginning of the sorry,
Sorry, yeah, please.
the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, is more or less an introduction of the rest of the book. And in the second and third chapters, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics discussed in this seventh and eighth chapters are specifically related to devotional service, and because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they are called more confidential. But the matters which are described in the ninth chapter deal with unalloyed pure devotion. Therefore, this is called the most confidential. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs, although he is in the material world. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. Similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter that anyone who's engaged in that way is a liberated person. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. You want to share something on
Sure,
this?
Prabhuji. So,
Yeah.
from what I'm reading over here, Prabhupada is explaining that how this ninth chapter is the most confidential. Then he goes on to explain that in the first chapter was more or less an introduction. The second chapter, second and third chapter, was about confidential knowledge. But after that, we come to additional chapters that are more confidential and deal with services, which is really the route to know Krishna. But this ninth chapter is really about being like a Sharnagat of Krishna, and about devotion. So this is the most confidential knowledge, and then he also goes on to explain that in order to really understand this, what is being said in this chapter, we have to read it in the association of devotees, where everyone will discuss their realizations. Through that process, this can really be understood. Otherwise, just reading on your own or mentally speculating alone is not really helpful in this process. And like you said earlier, like this, for really, like, to understand this, Krishna is giving this knowledge to Arjuna only because he's not envious. Matsarya or envy is the most like hated quality by Krishna. He doesn't like people who are envious. So like, in order to really understand this knowledge, we have to um, give up envy and have assimilate this knowledge in devotion and render service. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I think I understood this much. If you can expand more.
No, it's wonderful, Mataji. Thanks for summarizing the key content of the purports, the first three paragraphs. So, devotees, I mean, we can read through the next as well, but just kind of dwell into the three paragraphs or the content that Mataji has just read. I think for me, what I'm seeing is the key here is that Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna that here he's going to, in chapter 9 more specifically, he's trying to give you know the method in which one can practice this pure devotion, the unalloyed devotion. And I think in the past, in the previous weeks, our Sridhama Prabhu has also explained, and some our devotees have also explained about, within the devotees, there are like three different set of devotees who reach out to Krishna and who try to seek. One is, the Kanishta Adhikari, and then the Madhyama Adhikari and the Uttama Adhikari. So the Kanishta Adhikaris, like they are aspiring, but still they are not, they're still like engaged in the material day-to-day activities, and they're trying to kind of they're trying to own the process of Krishna conscious. They're slowly taking the baby steps towards it, but still not really there yet in terms of the Uttama or the topmost devotee stage. So within the devotional service also, these are like the three different categories that were defined. And what Krishna is talking about is something that's primarily meant for those who are at that highest stage of realization. And again, in the acronym, we learned about the consciousness, right? Like, somebody may be conscious of the Lord, like, people, they donate to the temple. They have that, they are in the mode of goodness. They want to connect with the Lord. They want to serve the Lord, but at the same time, they are also equally interested in material things. So that's like, the Kanishta Adhikari stage we are talking about. And in this purport, Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna is trying to give something that's uh, that's like the topmost, the unalloyed, in order to for somebody to get that unalloyed devotion towards the Supreme Lord, they have to cross through these different barriers or different levels of consciousness. So Krishna in this chapter, he's talking to Arjuna about how to attain that pure unalloyed devotion, which is like the aspiration of all practicing devotees. It is not easy, but Krishna says very very nicely here, Prabhupada is explaining that this can definitely, even though it may seem like it's very difficult, but with the association of devotees, it's absolutely possible for somebody to kind of really get to that level of understanding. And the other important thing which I'm kind of understanding in this as well is that Krishna always looks um, at into the sincerity. I mean, how sincere are we? He's actually reading our mind. He's constantly reading our heart, and he will inspire us. Let's say if we are truly interested in kind of enhancing our relationship with the Lord, he uh, through the medium of devotees, and also within our own realizations, Krishna will inspire us to really get to that level of understanding and to that level of realization. Um, so let's go through the next set of paragraphs, devotees, and we'll kind of look at it in a holistic way, the purport.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai. Now, this first verse has specific significance. The words idam jnanam, this knowledge, refer to pure devotional service, which consists of 9 different activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, obeying, maintaining friendship, and surrendering everything. By the practice of these 9 elements of devotional service, one is elevated to spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand the signs of Krishna. Simply to understand that a living entity is not material is not sufficient. That may be the beginning of spiritual realization, but one should recognize the difference between activities of the body and the spiritual activities of one who understands that he is not the body. In the 7th chapter, we have already discussed the opulent potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different energies, the inferior and superior natures, and all this material manifestation. Now in chapter 9, the glories of the Lord will be delineated. The Sanskrit word anusuyave in this verse is also very significant. Generally, the commentators, even if they are highly scholarly, are all envious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the most erudite scholars write on Bhagavad Gita very inaccurately. Because they are envious of Krishna, their commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. No one can explain Bhagavad Gita or give perfect knowledge of Krishna if he is envious. One who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is a fool. So, such commentaries should be very carefully avoided. For one who understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure and transcendental personality, these chapters will be very beneficial. So it's a very important verse and purport. Prabhupada is emphasizing here that envy to Krishna. So, but before that point coming, Prabhuji, just to add that here, that what Prabhupada is explaining with this Jnanam idam jnanam, this knowledge. And this is the pure devotional service. And how the pure devotional service someone can attain? By the very important verse, what Prahlad Maharaj says in Srimad Bhagavatam about 9 processes of devotional service: through hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, obeying, maintaining friendship, and then surrender to the Lord. With that 9 processes of devotional service, our acharyas, our Gauriya Vaishnavas like Shara Goswami, as for example Sanatan Goswami. So in Brindavan I visited Radha Madan Mohan temple established by Sri Sanatan Goswami, and he is the direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his bhajan kutir was so small, and on the little top of the hill now they make a stairs, they are working on it. It's very old area, and so their requirement, their need is so minimum, so they do not need any material opulences, anything. They are the pure devotees. As for example Raghunath Das Goswami in Vrindavan, Raghunath Das Goswami was chanting in very high heat, and as he is the pure devotee of Lord Krishna, Radharani, so Radharani came to give him shade with her sharis, and Sanatan Goswami has witnessed that, and he says, Raghunath Das Goswami, please make a bhajan kutir. Why you are chanting in this scorching heat? Because Radharani has to work for you, like she is also has to come in that scorching heat to protect you. So that is a pure devotee. A pure devotee of Krishna is always only their goal is to serve Krishna, to think about Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada is telling here. And that devotee, that pure devotee will get the self-realized knowledge of this absolute truth. So that's why Prabhupada is saying this is very confidential. So no envy. So Pran Govinda Prabhuji in his lecture says that like some people are envious to Krishna, like why we have to give importance to Krishna, why I cannot enjoy by myself, like who. So those are the envy comes in someone's mind who are not the devotee. But devotee always surrenders to Krishna. They want to know Krishna, they want to serve Krishna. So that was Prabhupada is explaining also. And that's why he also mentioned in the purport that commentary is given by non-devotees about Krishna, about Bhagavad Gita is not correct. So those are those should not be followed. So there are a lot of Bhagavad Gitas in the market, and so their explanation, their commentaries are different. They are not the devotees, they are just the scholars that Prabhupada is telling, erudite scholars. They explain Bhagavad Gita more like in their knowledge, what they understand about Krishna or Bhagavad Gita, but they do not have any attitude of surrendering. So that's Bhagavad Gita is not, commentaries are not recommended for any devotees. So, Prabhuji, back to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mataji. Thanks for explaining nicely with the examples. Um, so devotees, I think, if you look through the whole purport, Prabhupada is kind of clearly explaining on key things. One is, first thing is we should not be envious. We should always be kind of submissive. And the second thing is always try to understand the subject matter in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Because this knowledge is not for everyone. And as Mataji explained very nicely, I have personally encountered people who have asked me that why Krishna? Why do you pray to Krishna? Why not other gods? And every time I encounter that question from them, I try to explain them in the context of like, the only text that where Krishna is trying to explain here is the Bhagavad Gita. So I always bring them the reference of like, do you believe in, is the Bhagavad Gita being the prime text for those who practice Sanatan Dharma? And when they say yes, then Krishna himself is telling clearly about who he is in Bhagavad Gita. And but no matter what explanation you may give, sometimes some people are kind of ignorant about it. They're like, they are like, okay, that's fine. I think Krishna is just one of the avatars, one of the Dashavatars of the Lord. And I think people, they just have their own understanding. It's not that they don't respect, they do respect, but it's just that their level of understanding is to an extent that, okay, we'll worship um, Krishna as like any other demigod. But I think, in this verse, it's very important that Krishna is trying to emphasize the fact that, uh, it's important that we have to have that submissive uh, nature, or the first and foremost thing is to kind of be able to surrender to the Lord. And then also, if you really want to, I mean, even from a material terms, right? Like, if somebody wants to get the highest level of knowledge in, let's say, in space science, or in physics, or in a particular area within physics, what they would aspire for is like, they would probably seek those who have that highest understanding, and they know whom to approach to, right? So in this case, Krishna is telling that, um, Krishna is saying that he is going to inspire those who are seeking him with pure intent. So in this case, like for those who are aspiring for the pure devotional knowledge, or pure devotional service towards the Lord, Krishna is saying that I will really reveal and inspire them within their heart, and they can really understand the gist of what he's explaining in this chapter 9, not just for the sake of just listening, but also be able to practice that in our day-to-day life. So I'd like to take some comments from the devotees on this verse. I know we have some devotees.
Hare Krishna,
You would like yes, Prabhuji, please.
So we are in this material world because we are envious to Krishna in the spiritual world. So this enviousness not only to Krishna, even we envious to devotees, we envious to other living entities in this material world. That also will hold us this material world back again. So not only to Krishna, if we envious to devotees and other living entities, there's also an obstacle in our spiritual life.
Absolutely.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, good point, Prabhuji. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the very reason why we all are existing here, and got away from the spiritual world to that of a material world, is because of this very quality that we had, which is enviousness towards the Lord. So thanks for bringing that key point, Prabhu. Any other devotees would like to throw?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have a question regarding the activities. Remembering everything, whatever we hear, it may be difficult, but to some extent, excuse me, to some extent, we can remember and practice the basic stuff, but remembering everything, like whatever we hear, all the, Bhagavad Gita or any other topic we hear from the Gurujis, it's going to be difficult. But what is the meaning of remembering here in this context?
So, as Mataji explained, Mataji, in the, Prahlad Maharaj explains in Srimad Bhagavatam about these 9 processes of devotional service. So you can render devotional service to the Lord by following through these different activities, or different services. So hearing is considered as one of the devotional service. So everything, I mean, we all know that everything begins with hearing, right? The importance of hearing and chanting is kind of really expressed by Prahlad Maharaj in the verse itself, by kind of really calling them out as the first crucial steps of our devotional service. Because let's say, for example, if we don't even hear about Bhagavad Gita, let's say if we don't hear about Krishna, how will the ruchi, or the taste towards the Lord, how will we become curious if we don't hear about something, right? The very first thing is we need to hear. So I understand your question is more in terms of, Leah, we can hear. Um, you said like hearing is difficult.
No, remembering, Prabhu.
Remembering. So yes, by constant, so through constant listening and through constant chanting, we will remember. When, I think remembering is also an important thing, right? Let's say, for example, I read a textbook when I heard my teacher talking about a particular subject in my, let's say, eighth grade, and then I read it also. But then imagine I'm not like really into it now, right? Because whatever I have learned in my eighth grade, I heard it back then. I read it, but I now don't remember it. And why do I not remember it? Because it was not consistent, it was not constant, right, Mataji? So one important thing is the way how you can remember what uh, I mean, the very first step to remember is for you to find like continuously hear and then continuously repeat it as well. So that's why it's always encouraged that, let's say somebody, there is a verse memorization group, like, devotees. I'm really poor at it because I've never paid a lot of effort in learning our verses, various verses of Bhagavad Gita. But some of our devotees remember those verses and they speak about it because one, they have heard it constantly and they have recited them constantly. And so therefore they can easily remember it. So I think, all these all these different activities that one engages, Mataji, in the devotional service, in the context of this particular the nine process of devotional service, Krishna is telling that if you listen, if you hear about my glories, it's a process of devotional service. If you chant my name, you're rendering devotional service. And if you remember me, right? Like I can remember about Krishna at any point. I mean, you can remember Krishna at any point, right? If you want to, if you think through, let's say if you wake up in the morning, I'm sure, we all thank Krishna or we remember Krishna without even seeing him. We kind of, meditate upon him. So remembrance is something, again, it's a very key term. Krishna tells in some of the verses that I give you, especially in the context of death, right? We are practicing. Life is a uh, preparation and death is an examination, right? So all through the life, the goal of the devotees is to constantly hear the names of the Lord and chant the names of the Lord. And then Krishna, and the remembrance is not something that's within our control. Krishna says that I will give you that remembrance at the time of death. So at the same, that the remembering the Lord at the time of death is something that has to happen only with the mercy of the Lord. But we can continue to think about the Lord. Like, the other day I remember Shalini Mataji was explaining that, when she was driving, she, sometimes listens to the kirtans, she chants, and, we can think about the Lord. Like, for example, um, when I walk and I see a tortoise or a turtle crossing the road, we can remember the Kurmavatar of the Lord. There are different ways in which we can uh, think about the God, think about the Lord. Different things. When you see a flute, you can think about Krishna. When you see these bluish clouds that you see when it's about to rain, you can think about Krishna. There are different ways in which a devotee can remember the Lord. So I think that is what is being referred here. That the more we learn about Krishna, Mataji, the more we can associate things with him. So I mean, that's from that's what I can share, Mataji. From, I don't know if I've answered your question,
Yes,
but
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. And any other devotees, if you would like to add as well, please share about how we can remember the Lord.
Prabhuji, I would like to add something like that I actually used in practical life, not in devotion, but like when I was still a student, one of our English teachers, like, she used to make sure like, oh, you have to learn so many like words in a day, right? But
Mhm.
like maybe I learned five new words today and five tomorrow, and by the end of the month there are so many I might lose, right? So what she used to say is like we have to personalize those words, use it in your own sentence. Once you do that, then it sticks. So when we read the Bhagavad Gita, it is very informative, but it's also not so personal to us. But when we read like one shloka today, if we think about it and how can we apply this in our life? I know it's not easy, and I'm not also like doing it right now. But like I'm just thinking, as you say, like how we can do that. If we can apply it to our life, then we may not remember the exact words what was being said, but the essence of that shloka that we can remember. I just wanted to share, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, I mean, and, absolutely, Mataji. I think the more we inculcate the essence of Bhagavad Gita in our day-to-day life, in our day-to-day decision making, the more you're making it inclusive and actually kind of leading through the principles that Krishna is sharing, especially in our day-to-day life. And I think that's the whole essence of Bhagavad Gita, right? It's not about just reading the verses, understanding the spirit of it, and then like keeping it aside. It's the whole intent of Bhagavad Gita is for, Krishna is inspiring Arjuna, remembering him what his dharma is, what his true duty is. And the context in which Krishna is speaking to Arjuna is to try to kind of encourage him to not really forget about his prime responsibility, but do things by thinking about him and remembering him and offering it to him. Thank you, Mataji. Any other devotees would like to add anything on that question that Mataji asked?
And also chanting, Prabhuji. If
Yes, yes, Mataji, absolutely. I think two key things which I think devotees have always emphasized is among all the different processes of devotional service, the Navanidha Bhakti, uh, hearing and chanting are the two prime things that are in essence the focus of Krishna consciousness. I think Prabhupada has always emphasized on the fact that it's very important for us to hear uh, the Krishna Katha, hear the kirtans, and then also chant the names of the Lord. So I think as practicing devotees, our primary focus has always been the first two, the hearing and chanting. Of course, it doesn't mean that we should not remember the Lord or serve the Lord or worship the Lord. We can do all, we can kind of render our devotional service in different ways. These are all are different ways of rendering your devotional service. But the two easiest ones that we can practice in our day-to-day life are like hearing to the glories of the Lord, um, and then also chanting the holy name of the Lord. And
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 also doing seva also, Prabhuji.
yeah,
Seva. Yeah.
absolutely. Devotional service, right?
Mhm.
Any activity that we engage in for as which we are offering to the Lord, it transforms itself into a devotional service. So even as a matter of fact, if you're engaged in your day-to-day responsibilities, as long as you are considering that your responsibilities are given by Krishna and you're kind of serving those responsibilities as an offering to the Lord, you're naturally transforming your material responsibilities and kind of spiritualizing them. So yes, Mataji, thanks for those points. Raghu Prabhu or any other devotees want to add anything? Um, oh, I'm so sorry, devotees. It's already 9:10. I'm sorry, I wasn't doing time check. Uh, I didn't hear anything from Mahesh Prabhu today. Venkat Prabhu.
No, I really enjoy all the questions, answers, and yeah, the purport. Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for nice discussion. Yeah.
Sure, thank you, Prabhus. So devotees, I'm sorry, my apologies. I didn't even pay attention to the time. But I think it's we kind of really got a clear picture of what Krishna is about to share in this chapter 9, right? I'm sure the take-home message for all of us is like, I think we are going to start understanding the most confidential knowledge in the next few weeks. So I'm kind of curious to see what Krishna has to explain in the next few verses. But this is more like a preface or a pretext to this chapter itself. So thank you, devotees. If none of you have any questions, we can wind up today's call.
Haribol to Kartik Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Thank you.
devotees. Yes, Mataji. Devotees, I mean, I would really love to have feedback as well, in the sense that, if you were able to discuss, or did we have a good segue into the chapter 9? I think because the acronyms that I was looking at, which I kind of was showing, I can share with all of you, because I think this is a really nice way to remember all the chapters. Actually, not just this, but like, different for all the chapters. Again, this information that was compiled was from this Prabhu, Sutapadas. And this Prabhuji has so beautifully kind of given acronyms for every chapter, literally. And I think this is really a good way for us to memorize and remember each chapter, and also more specifically about like what those set of texts are talking about. I mean, if anybody is interested, I can share this link.
Sure,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji, that would
Could
be
you
very
please
helpful.
share?
Yes, Mataji. I don't know. I was trying to download, but I think it was asking me for
If you can
some
share the link,
credentials.
that would be nice. You don't need to send us the document. Is it private or
No, I mean, I'll share
it's a
my.
public?
I'll put it in the chat if that's okay.
Sure.
But I think
Yeah, if you can do that, Prabhuji, it will be great. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, Kartik Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, devotees, I see that there's no more questions or any points to be added, so we'll wind up today's call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, devotees.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Hare
jai.
Krishna, Kartik Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai. Thank you,
Dandavat
Prabhuji.
pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Sri Bhagavad Gita discussions ki jai.
Jai.
Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.